Hey there, and welcome. So, you're an engineering student, right? Got a notebook or maybe a folder on your laptop just crammed with ideas? Dreaming of building the next big thing? Well, you are in the perfect place. Today, we are going to map out that entire founder's journey, right from that first little spark of an idea to building a real honest-to-goodness enterprise. Let's dive in. You know, it all starts right here, doesn't it? That one brilliant thought that pops into your head that could solve a huge problem or just create something brand new that nobody's ever seen before. But here's the thing. The real challenge isn't just having the idea. It's figuring out how to take it from inside your head and make it real. That is the billion-dollar question, and the answer starts with understanding the very foundation of what you want to build.
So, before we even start talking about code or raising capital, let's just get back to the absolute basics. What even is a business? At its heart, a business is a response to something fundamental about us humans. We have unlimited wants. Seriously, from the food we crave to the apps we can't live without, businesses exist for one reason: to satisfy those wants. It's the engine that literally keeps our entire world running.
Okay, now check out this classic definition. There are a couple of words in here that are absolutely key. First, regular. A business isn't a one-time garage sale. It's a continuous, ongoing thing. And second, look at that dual objective. It's about earning a profit for you, the creator, by satisfying the wants of your customers. When that works, it's the perfect win-win situation. So you'll find that every single business, I don't care if it's a tiny local shop or a massive tech giant, they all share these basic traits. You're exchanging something of value, you're doing it over and over, and you're building relationships. But I want you to look really closely at that fourth point: risks and uncertainties. This is the one you can't escape. Every single founder faces risks. The market could shift, a new competitor could pop up, your funding could dry up. It is an absolutely inevitable part of the journey.
All right, so you've got the idea, and you've accepted the risk. Now you've hit your first major fork in the road. And this decision has nothing to do with your product. Nope, this is all about the legal blueprint of your company. How you decide to organize it is a choice that's going to have huge long-term consequences for your control, your personal liability, and your ability to grow down the line.
You know, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It frames the decision perfectly. Are you going to be more effective flying solo or as part of a team? Your choice of business structure literally defines how you'll work, how you get taxed, and maybe most importantly, how much personal risk you're willing to take on. Let's break down the main options.
First up, we've got the simplest, most direct path you can take: the sole proprietorship. This is the classic origin story for so many of the world's biggest companies. It all starts with one person, one idea, and just an unbelievable amount of hustle. Ah, yes. For anyone who has ever pulled an all-nighter trying to finish a final year project all by yourself, this is going to feel very, very familiar. As a sole proprietor, you are the boss. Every single decision is yours to make. Every rupee of profit, it goes straight into your pocket. But, and this is a big but, so does every failure, every bug, and every single rupee of debt.
And this table just lays out that central trade-off perfectly. On one hand, it's super easy to start, and the motivation is crystal clear. It's all for you. But that downside is huge. That term, unlimited liability, let's be real about what that means. It means there is zero legal separation between you and your business. If the business fails, your personal assets, your laptop, your savings, your bike, could all be taken to pay off those debts. That is a massive risk.
But what if you don't want to go it alone, right? What if your best friend is an absolute genius at design and you're the one who can code like a wizard? Well, that brings us to the next level of collaboration, the next step up. Let's talk about the partnership.
Exactly. This is the classic startup model we see all the time. A partnership is basically a group project. You pool your money, you combine your skills, and you bring your resources together to try and build something bigger than any of you could on your own. But just like any group project you've ever been in, success or failure depends entirely on having a shared vision and just flawless teamwork. So you can raise more money and you can divide up all the work, which is a huge advantage. But hey, notice something familiar on the disadvantage side? Unlimited liability is still right there. And now, you're not just liable for your own decisions, you're on the hook for your partner's decisions too. This is why choosing your co-founders is one of the most critical decisions you will ever make. If you're not aligned, you could sink the ship before it even leaves the port.
And now, let's talk about the big one. The structure that makes massive scale, huge investments, and global reach possible. We're talking about the joint stock company. This is the framework behind giants like Reliance, Tata, and Infosys.
This analogy really clicks, especially for tech students. A company is its own separate legal entity. It exists completely independent of its owners. It can be owned by thousands and thousands of shareholders, kind of like how a big open source project can have thousands of contributors. This structure allows for incredible scale, but that scale comes with a price, a lot more complexity and a lot more rules.
So, the single most important point, the absolute superpower of forming a company is that very first advantage, limited liability. This is the game changer. It means you are legally separate from the business. If the company fails, your personal assets are safe. This one concept is what allows founders to take huge risks and attract massive amounts of investment. The trade-off? Well, it's pretty clear. It's expensive and complicated to set up, and you're going to have a lot more government oversight.
Okay, let's take a breath. You've picked your structure. You're now, legally, a business. The how is sorted out, but now we have to ask a much, much deeper, more fundamental question. What's the actual goal here? What is this firm you've just created ultimately trying to do?
This question brings us to a huge debate in the world of economics, something called the theory of the firm. And it's all about figuring out the ultimate objective of a business. What's that one single metric, that North Star, that should guide every single decision you make as a founder? Believe me, the answer is not as obvious as you might think.
For a really long time, the answer seems simple. Profit maximization. Make as much money as you possibly can. End of story. This path leads to a sustainable, controllable business. But then, a new idea started to take over. Sales revenue maximization. With this strategy, the goal isn't immediate profit. It's about growth. It's about scale. It's about dominating the market. Just think about all the tech startups we see today, burning through investor cash just to get as many users as they can. They're playing the long game, betting that massive profits will come later, once they're the only big player left standing.
And that's the final and most crucial question I want to leave you with. If you were the founder, what would be your North Star? Would you build a bootstrapped, profitable business right from day one and keep full control? Or would you take on venture capital, sacrifice those early profits for aggressive, breakneck growth, all in the hopes of building a giant that defines the entire category? Your answer doesn't just define your business strategy, it really defines what kind of entrepreneur you're going to be.